Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're doing a top 10. The topic of the top 10 top 10 John Cena moments. And as of this recording, if you watched Monday Night Raw just a few days ago, we're in the celebration of 20 years of John Cena. With that being said, we're going to go into this and rank what I think are Cena's top 10 matches. Let's get this party started. Number 10, John Cena vs. Kurt Angle from No Mercy 2003. This was roughly a year after John Cena made his debut, with the Ruthless Aggression promo coming out and challenging Kurt Angle. So to see him go from there to here, where Kurt Angle at this point was one of the top guys in the company, John Cena was still in the process of working his way to being a top guy. Seeing that I believe just under a year after his debut, and having this match, which was, in my opinion, one of John Cena's first really great matches, and having him in there with a guy like Kurt Angle who could help elevate him, made this a fantastic match in my opinion. It's definitely one I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but I would recommend going back and watching this because it was a really fun match. You get to see John Cena on the rise, Kurt Angle obviously as close or at his peak as possible, but just a fantastic match in my opinion. Now going from that, number 9. Another one that did a lot for the rise of John Cena versus JBL from Judgment Day 2005 in the I Quit match. This is a somewhat iconic match. This was a bloody brawl between the two. The feud with JBL kind of cemented that John Cena was ready to become a main event guy and ready to carry the company on his back. After, we also started seeing here a little bit of the backlash of John Cena. This is where it started the let's go Cena sucks kind of thing. But in my opinion, the match is fantastic. It's brutal, it's violent, it gives us a different side of John Cena. He's wrestling much to the style that JBL was more known for. And it really made you believe that if, when needed, John Cena had this other gear he could kick it into. Really helped him along, really helped cement him as being one of the top guys in the WWE. Now, our number 8. John Cena versus Kevin Owens from Elimination Chamber 2015. This is their first pay-per-view match, and this is, and I'm gonna say spoilers, this is 7 years old, so if you haven't seen it by now, I'm sorry. This is one of the things, John Cena gets painted a lot as a guy that doesn't like to elevate talent, but as you start to see as we get into this list a little more, you'll notice there's a theme. There are some talents on here that John absolutely helped. Kevin Owens coming up from NXT to the main roster and immediately going into a feud with John Cena made him important to anybody that was watching. And John Cena puts Kevin over here. It was just a great match, a great way to introduce a guy, to show that this guy is very important. By 2015, John Cena was already cemented as the #1 Apex Alpha Predator, Randy, the top guy in the company at this point. So putting Owens in with him gave Owens that immediate credibility. And picking up a win from him even meant a lot more. Now, coming from that, our number 7. We just talked about him a moment ago. Probably John Cena's biggest rival. John Cena versus Randy Orton from SummerSlam 2007. I think these guys have had something upwards of 100 matches on TV or pay-per-view. From what I remember, they've had a ton of matches everywhere. This, to me, is my absolute favorite of the matches. I love these two, and this is, when you look back at the era, the Ruthless Aggression era, There's a couple guys that stand out. Cena, Orton, Batista, Brock Lesnar, all those from the quote-unquote class of 2002 of OVW. It always felt like John Cena was Hulk Hogan and Randy Orton was Randy Savage. And kind of on that same trajectory. No matter what Randy Orton did, John Cena was always a little bit higher than him. And they put on some banger matches. This, to me, my absolute favorite of them. I don't think you could go wrong. I don't think they have a stinker anywhere. But if I were to recommend one, this would definitely be the one. Now, coming from that, our number 6. From Royal Rumble 2017, John Cena versus AJ Styles. AJ had only been at the company, I want to say, a year at this point, maybe 2. I believe he debuted the Royal Rumble the year before, and I know I should have researched a bit before doing the video. But he hadn't quite yet got that top level vibe, that top level run yet. And being in there against a guy like John Cena, much like I said with Kevin Owens, immediately made AJ Styles one of the guys that is going to be, and is to this day, a top tier talent in WWE. The really important thing of this, and this is showing just how long at a really good level John Cena could do it. AJ Styles too, because that whole time that John Cena was running it at a top level, so was AJ Styles. May not have been in WWE, but he was top guy in TNA, top guy in New Japan, top guy in Ring of Honor. I mean, everywhere AJ's gone, he's won and he's become a top guy. The thing that makes this match special is this is where John Cena wins his 16th World Championship, tying Ric Flair. So we get to see that. So again, we get a little bit of quote-unquote the old versus new, even though they're about the same age. AJ was newer to WWE at the point. But, just another great match and another historical moment, seeing probably something that you're not going to see much of. Orton will probably, I believe Orton's either one behind, but Orton will probably break the record, to be honest with you. But you don't get to see that often. You're not going to see 16 World Championships very often. And I know Ric Flair's real number is somewhere in the 20s, but anyway, it's the kayfabe number that they're going with. Now, coming off of that, our number 5. John Cena versus Naga from Royal Rumble 2007 in a last man standing match. This was astounding. It's a real shame that Umaga died as young as he did and had the issues that he did, because he had the ability to have been one of the real special talents. He really could have been right there still now. I think he would be right up there with the Roman Reigns, the Brock Lesnars of the world. And honestly, I like Umaga more than I like Roman Reigns. I think I like his character better. I like his ring style better. Not saying Reigns is a bad wrestler. I like the stuff he's doing with the Bloodline a lot. But to me, Umaga was different. Umaga was special. Umaga is the closest thing I could say to anybody who didn't see Umaga would be Jacob Fatu. It's a very similar gimmick. Just an updated version of the classic quote-unquote Samoan Savage gimmick put into the mid-2000s, and just a guy that can pull it off great. And he looked like an absolute monster. I loved Umaga. Cena and Umaga's feud was fantastic. I think Umaga, rest in peace Umaga, because you were awesome. Now, coming from that, talking about awesome, our number 4, John Cena versus Daniel Bryan from SummerSlam 2013. This was another time where I want to say John Cena was trying to do the right thing by putting Daniel Bryan over. Spoilers again, by putting Daniel Bryan over in the match, even though Orton cashed in after. The cash-in kind of hurts the match itself. However, the match itself was fantastic. I mean, Daniel Bryan and John Cena, who were almost brother-in-laws, if John did go through and marry Nikki, he would have been Daniel Bryan's brother-in-law. So there's that story going from that. But this was a great match. It was when Daniel Bryan was kind of not looked at as great in the WWE. They weren't pushing him to the level they should. And it was a match like this that I think really changed their minds a little bit. Even though Orton cashes in and it takes away from the win, Daniel Bryan picking up a win over John Cena, again, really cemented who he was and what he meant in the company going forward. Now coming from that, number 3. We're getting a Legend versus Legends match. Not that all these guys on this list aren't legends themselves. John Cena versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, at WrestleMania 23. I kind of tossed this up here because there's a Raw match with Michaels and John Cena that's pretty good too. I didn't quite think it was as good as the Mania match here for 2 reasons. First, it's a spectacle of it being WrestleMania. Second, it's WrestleMania, so they seem to put just a little bit more into it. This was a fantastic match. This is, just a couple years before Shawn Michaels retires, and he's out there cementing his legacy as one of the best in-ring workers of all time. John Cena, I know he has limitations, but he doesn't quite get the credit he deserves for how good he is. This wasn't Shawn Michaels out there wrestling a ladder or wrestling a mop or whatever else has been said about Shawn Michaels making other people look great. This is Shawn Michaels versus a guy that's a capable opponent. And that they put on a fantastic match here. I want to say it was definitely my favorite match of that WrestleMania. Very enjoyable. Obviously one of my favorite John Cena matches, but also one of my favorite of Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania matches. Just a great match, and I think it's one that people overlook just a little bit. Now going from that, our number 2. John Cena versus Edge from Unforgiven 2006, a forgotten TLC match. And people seem to forget this time frame. This was when Edge was on his rise to being a single star and really breaking out and making himself something really special. This was John Cena really putting Edge over here. It was a fantastic match between the two. Edge came out of it looking like he deserved to be a top-tier talent. Heck, he's a Hall of Famer now. I guarantee if you ask Edge what was one of the biggest points of his career, he would point back to this moment and the cash-in with the Money in the Bank on John Cena as 2 of the biggest moments that really cemented him as a top-level talent and a guy that could be considered the guy running with the ball and being the main person in the company. Just a fantastic match, much like all the rest of these are. Kind of overshadowed by all the other TLC matches, but it's hard to not be overshadowed by some of those classics they put on. Just another fantastic match. Now, before we get into our number 1, we do a little thing here called the best on the rest. Basically, these were matches that were considered for the list, but didn't quite make it for whatever reason. First up, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins versus John Cena from Royal Rumble 2015. I really enjoyed this match. I liked the infusion of Rollins in here. I liked the dichotomy, Cena and Lesnar. Cena's the ultimate company guy. Lesnar seen as the ultimate money guy. This is just a fantastic match. In my opinion, one of the better 3-way matches of the last 10 years or so. Just a great main event. All 3 guys pulled off an awesome match. Just fantastic. But didn't quite make the list. Speaking of triple threats, another match that was considered but didn't make the list. John Cena versus Triple H versus Edge from Backlash 2006. Again, talking about making Edge look like a star. Here you have him in the ring with arguably the two biggest wrestlers of that time frame, Triple H and John Cena, and he absolutely holds his part. He makes it look amazing. Obviously, who's going to look bad out of these three? You have three absolute legends on the card, three absolute studs wrestling each other. Just a fantastic match. Now, before we get into our number one, make sure you smash that like button, share, subscribe if you haven't. And if you think I put a match too high, somewhere down too low, let me know what you think in the comments. If I left a match off altogether, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think your favorite John Cena matches are. And our number one match of the top 10, the best match in John Cena's career, in my opinion, John Cena versus CM Punk from Money in the Bank 2011. Everybody knows the story. Everybody knows the build-up going in. This is coming off of the back of the pipe bomb. Was CM Punk going to stay? Was he going to leave? Was he going to take the belt and go defend it in New Japan, as he said? This was a very hyped up match that lived up to and exceeded the hype. And a lot of people look at it as a CM Punk match and forget that John Cena was there. And without John Cena being in this match, it wouldn't feel as important. You had the guy, CM Punk, who was a counterculture guy, railing against the company man, John Cena. And it's what made it really special. Because Punk even said it. It's not that he hates John Cena, he likes John Cena. It's just that he hates what John Cena stands for. John Cena at this point had become Hulk Hogan. He had become The Rock. He was the face of the company. And it felt like, and he was leaning into a lot of what the internet would say. A lot of what the smart fans would say, or the dirt sheets, that John Cena's holding other people down. I don't think he ever really did. Do I think they went to John Cena more often than they should have? Maybe. But can you really argue with it when he's your biggest merch seller? He's the guy that's breaking records on Make-A-Wishes and doing all the television appearances for your show. He's selling out tickets everywhere he goes. Can you really hold that against the man? I don't think you can. I think a lot of John Cena's hate is not deserved. I think you had a vocal minority speaking up against John Cena, and I was one of them. There were times I was absolutely tired of the act. I was tired of the constant push. But numbers don't lie. If I was running the company and I seen the numbers and John Cena's ratings are better than everybody else's, John Cena's merchandise is better than everybody else's, when we announce John Cena for a show, he sells more tickets than anybody else, and it's proof. Just look at it now. Look how he's involved in the Fast and the Furious franchise. Look at how he's involved in Peacemaker. He's a viable commodity outside of WWE now. Just a fantastic match, though. You all know the outcome. If you're watching this video, you know the outcome of this match. It's one of the most historical in that time period, and probably in the history of WWE. With all that being said, again, if you think I left something off the list, put something down too low, let me know down here in the comments. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. If you made it all the way to the end, give me one of three things. Or you can do all three. Hustle, loyalty, respect. All for John Cena. You could do one, you could do two, you could do all three. But let me know in the comments you made it to the end by at least putting one of those in the comments. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been my opinion of John Cena's top 10 matches.